Hello, Mr. Gupta. Welcome to the show. I'll begin by asking you about the budget. Any takeaways from the budget? Anything for the startup universe?
I think it's a good budget. It feels it's a very growth oriented budget, and it looks at some of the fundamental investments we need to do in our overall economy as well as the digital economy. So I think very excited about the forward looking, very growth oriented budget we have.
Anything related to IPOs that you got from the budget? Any indications from there?
If you look at what has happened in Indian IPO market over the last 9 months, especially in the context of startups with Zomato, Nykaa, Paytm, and Policy Bazaar and others. I think it's a big milestone for Indian startup ecosystem where the Indian public markets are really showing a lot of appetite for digital companies, for companies which are taking a very long forward looking view on the economy. So I think I'm quite excited about the public markets and the IPO optionalities in India.
Udaan is headed for an IPO. You've made an announcement also. Last year, you said that in 18 to 24 months, you'll be going for an IPO. So what's the preparation like? Is it likely to come in 2023, calendar 2023?
I think as I said, we definitely see IPO as an important milestone. And we definitely are kind of seeing the timeline ballpark in the 18 to 24-month horizon for us. Udaan's journey started as kind of really defining Kirana e-commerce as a category of e-commerce in this country, right? And I think over the last 4 or 5 quarters, we have sort of started work on our consistent progress on our unit economics, which is also a good pathway to our our IPO plan. So I'm quite happy about the progress we're making both on the growth side as well as on the unit economic side, and a lot of work on rigor side in the company to actually prepare for IPO.
There have been some debuts recently which have not been too good in the online space. So are there any concerns there?
I believe so that tech markets overall are really becoming mainstream markets, right? And if you look at even if I look at say more recently, right, both in the last week itself, Amazon and Facebook, two companies very differently performed on the public market. Amazon making the single largest gain in valuation of any company in a history. Similarly, Facebook having the single largest loss of any at the same week, right? So I believe that tech businesses are becoming, and tech markets are becoming more mainstream, right? So people are really looking at, yes, tech is important, but we also need to now look at, are you a good quality company with consistency on your performance, on your business, and are you building real capability modes, real fundamental competitive advantages which are driving your business, versus actually are you a more weaker on those dimensions? And I think the markets are rewarding these two companies very appropriately.
You mentioned performance. So by performance, do you look at profitability also? How does profitability fit in your scheme of things?
See, if you look at what Udaan has been trying to do in this country, right? Udaan is fundamentally was architected around mass market e-commerce, right? And if you look at India, there is an affluent India, and there is this next 500, 600 million or a billion India, which is kind of the mass market, right? And our belief from very early days of Udaan has been that you need a fundamentally different operating model of e-commerce to actually crack this market, right? If you look across, right, you can see a DMart versus Shopper Stop. You just need a very different, or you look at Jet Airways versus Indigo. In India, to really crack mass market, you actually need a very different operating model, right? And I think Udaan has really pioneered that around the pivoting points of Kirana in this country, right? To how do you leverage Kirana, which is really the channel by which mass market actually consumes, right? How do you leverage them to actually build the right model around this? And Udaan has pioneered that, and there has always been this question in uh, Indian e-commerce, Indian mass market e-commerce or grocery e-commerce is how do you crack scale and unit economics both? So to me, performance actually is on both sides for Udaan, which is how do we keep showing a growth in our sort of penetrating this mass market e-commerce, and how do we ensure that we are able to drive the right unit economics? Like if you look at Udaan, we reach out to almost 3 million Kiranas, retailer, shopkeepers in this country. Imagine all of them are 3 million forward deployed fulfillment centers.
I was looking at the numbers, more than 2,400 crore worth of losses. That was FY21, right? So your losses are down, but you're still in losses. Revenues are up. But are you looking at a break even anytime soon?
First milestone for us, Nivedita, for a platform like ours is fundamentally around unit economics, right? We want to make sure that, as we are growing, right, we are sort of solving for unit economics. And now Udaan has actually solved for unit economics, right? That's definitely one of the most important milestone for us over the last 2 quarters. We have sort of worked on that, right? And I think now for a lot of our focus would be to drive growth via maintaining unit economics, right? Which actually over a period of time for a market opportunity where Udaan is fundamentally a long-term compounding opportunity, right? Growing 35-40% year over year for long periods, right? Now for us, next part of our journey is how do we drive growth and profitability together to actually drive the EBITDA profitability. I think now to me it will be balancing our investment versus at speed at which the market is opening up, right? And I think we'll have to navigate that path around.
What are your thoughts on the heady valuations of IPOs? Is that the right way of measuring the success of a startup, or should there be some other benchmark, some other units?
See, I fundamentally believe that the businesses and companies should be assessed and valued on fundamentals, right? What is the market opportunity you're after? What are the competitive advantages you are building? What is the quality of your management? What are the quality of your input business metrics, right? And I think I believe in long term the public markets or private markets long term they converge to fundamentals, they converge to real competitive advantage. We have seen great examples of that. If you look at in the Indian market itself, DMart is a great story. It's a story where the fundamentals are proven over long periods of time, how markets have valued that. I think the markets converge to fundamentals or mid to long periods of time, and I think in short term you can have both volatilities, but I think mid to long term it's a good representation.
What is the valuation of Udaan right now?
I think, as you would know, right, we are a private market company, right, and we definitely do not disclose our valuation in a public environment. If I look at last uh, 24 months as a company, uh, we have made material progress in our core fundamentals, right? We used to over the last 2 years, our number of monthly buyers, right, have grown by 60%. Our monthly repeat rates of buyers have grown by almost 2,000 basis points, about 20% over the last 18, 24 months, right? And we have gotten much stronger on brand relationship, right? Across the country, across the categories, now top brands, mid-scale brands are all having direct relationship with Udaan, banking partners for our lending business, right? So I think a tremendous progress we have made around overall quality and the reach and the profitability of the business, right?
Coming to your B2B business, that was my next question. What is your strategy to deal with kiranas or neighborhood stores that is different from, say, Geo or any other company like Amazon or someone?
I believe there are 3 or 4 capabilities and 3 or 4 choices which are needed to win in kirana e-commerce, right? Uh, One is that it is fundamentally a tech business, right? At its core, it is a tech business, right? Our go-to-market capability, our lending capability, our supply chain capability, our sourcing capabilities, which I believe are core to actually winning in Kirana e-commerce. They're fundamentally tech-driven capabilities, right? How do you actually create a large-scale go-to-market organization which is driven on back of an app, right? So you can organize their work at very high degree of scale and efficiency. How do you create a supply chain which is fundamentally rooted in the technology systems which are driving the intelligence, right? How do you think about lending, wherein your core driving month-over-month improvement in your lending default rates because you've built that core underwriting risk algorithm which keeps on improving, right? The core of Udaan is this technology based capability, right? And I think that's the biggest differentiation I see of anybody who's wanting to compete. They have to think very deeply about both the capabilities and then sort of driving them via technology. And we have not seen that from any player out there. Secondly, is a very sharp focus on kiranas, right? I think we're really going after last mile kiranas, right? We believe that's the core to the e-commerce. So we're improving our reach. Udaan now is already serving 1,500 towns in this country, shopkeepers in 1,500 towns in this country. Like in a year ago, we we're probably about 1,000 cities. So we're expanding our reach and we're expanding daily service to them. Today, we are doing almost in 600 cities. Right, over the next quarters, we want to get to 1,500 cities with daily service to them. Right, to me, those are the real big differentiation. Your ability to reach to large number of kiranas with a lot of regular, reliable supply, I think, is the biggest differentiation of Udaan.
What about pricing? How important is pricing in your, the disruption strategy?
See, I think in an e-commerce business, definitely you reach out to a shopkeeper, right? And the shopkeeper, you want to give them competitive pricing, you want to give them large range, you want to give them service, right? So it's important that any player is competitive on pricing. But having said that, Nivedita, I'll share a story with you. As we were launching our pharma business, I met a pharmacy shop in Bangalore, and I asked them, where do you buy your products from, right? He said, I buy it from so many distributors, so many suppliers. Like I said, where do you get the cheapest products? Like, what do you look for? He said, there are some of these wholesalers who give me the cheapest products, right? I sometimes will call them and get it. But then I think, who's your biggest supplier? He said, there is this other person who's my biggest supplier. And I said, why? Like, you get so much, like you said, price matters and you have these guys who are giving you cheapest. He said to me, sir, I've been buying from this supplier, the one who's primary supplier for ages. I said, then why? Why is your primary supplier? He said, one single thing, reliable and genuine. He said that, I know that anytime I'll order, it will come to my shop on time, and it will have high degree of transparency. Whatever brands and schemes which are being put into the system, I'm going to get them at the right cost and right price, right? And it'll be quality business. To me, shopkeepers fundamentally are small shopkeepers. If you go after middle mile traders, that's a different thing. We look at shopkeepers, they're fundamentally looking for reliable, genuine service. That's where you really get them to actually start trusting you and move large part of their business onto this, right? And I've seen that more and again. As Udaan has continued to improve our service level, our wallet shares with our buyers have increased. As we improved our transparency, our wallet shares with our buyers have increased. So to me, that's the key.
But aren't you absorbing losses on the deep discounts that you're giving?
So I think I shared already, right? Udaan from almost day zero never had a discounting strategy. We never had a discounting strategy. We always were bottoms up company. grounds up company. We built up bottoms up rather than sort of using discount to lead top down. We started working with smaller shopkeepers instead of big shopkeepers. If you take that strategy, we were never a discount driven. And we've already a unit economics positive company after our discounts at all. So our strategy is not a discount driven company. I think what I've seen is it's a range driven strategy. The more range we add on platform, the more wallet share we get from our buyers.
Since the time you began in 2016 and till now, what is the change that you have seen in the B2B space? What has the opportunity grown like?
I think conversations have changed at the retailer doorstep. Right. I was in the market in December now versus say 4 years ago when we started. Right. Early at that point of time, a lot of questions people used to ask about is why do I need it? I have a set of suppliers, right? If I order, but if the item is not good, what do I do? Right? When will I get it? Right? I'm not sure who is the supplier, and will he give me the right GST invoices? Right? And I need purchase financing, but I don't have somebody to supply to, right? These were a lot more of those barriers, right? And suppliers were worried about their payments, suppliers were worried about their channels, right? I think fast forward, Udaan invested in a lot of that. Like in earlier, we invested in a lot of trust building, habit building, barrier breaking of reliability and quality, right, which didn't exist in the market, and building trust between manufacturers and retailers, right? Fast forward 4 years now, you walk shops, I'm sure you can try. I've done that recently. More shopkeepers are buying more online every day, right? You see across almost 30 to 40% of shopkeepers in kind of top 100 cities, and if you go a little bit lower, at least again 20 to 20% shopkeepers are buying online, and people are buying 5%, 10%, 20%, 30%, right? So they're actively buying online, and they have now started trusting online buying, and now they are asking for more. They're saying, if I ask a question, like I asked one of the shopkeeper, what do I need to do to grow our business with you? The answer was, sir, आपकी reliability बढ़िया है, ऑर्डर कर दो, टाइम पे माल आता है, क्वालिटी का कोई इशू नहीं है, बस एक ही चीज चाहिए, आप थोड़ा और रेंज डालिए, मेरे को ये चाहिए, आपके पास ये नहीं है, ये और डालिए, right? So the point is that they have passed that trial phase, they passed that trust phase. Now they're asking for more.
Thank you so much for speaking to us.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us